Before we get started, please take the time to like, add, and subscribe to our pages on YouTube, Facebook, Spotify, and iTunes. Also, please leave us a review. We can wander our way over, because this is Wandering Ways.
What's Bigfoot possibility?
Clink.
Boing. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another wonderful day with the Wandering Ways crew. It is yourself, or myself, not yourself. It's myself, Reverend Marcus, the go-to guy that does all the talking at the beginning. With me, as per usual, the guy who's soon to be from Wolf Point, Montana, allegedly. Mr. Ranger Zach. Ranger Zach, how we doing?
I like that you say soon to be from Wolf Point. You say it that way, just like, yeah, don't know why you'd go there. Same. But like Billings, like I say, man, it's the 30th most dangerous city in America right now. It is also the 26th most violent city in America right now. And these motherfuckers out here had a billboard on the interstate that said, "Don't turn Billings into Portland," because they had the Portland riots. And I was just like, you're more violent and dangerous than Portland. You're more likely to get shot in Billings, Montana.
Which is kind of crazy.
Right? Well, it's the Wild Wild West. But I'm going to get out.
True.
And I'm going to get out. I'm going to buy a house. I got the papers. They're signed. I've been sending them tax documents. It's happening.
This will be a fun fact for both for the viewers, and you may not know this either, Zach. So this is a fun fact. Do you know what both Wolf Point and Billings, Montana have in common? And no, being in the state of Montana is not the answer.
Oh, what is it?
Nobody wants to go there.
Right. Exactly. No, exactly. It's out in the middle of nowhere. And I mean nowhere.
Yeah. I was actually funny. I was telling my parents that you were thinking of moving up to Wolf Point, and they're like, "Wolf Point? Like, where is that?" And I was like, northeast Montana. The only thing I really know is it's the farthest point from a Starbucks in the country."
Right. Yeah, basically, it's like it comes up on those like land surveys you see sometimes where it's like where like the most remote places in the world are, like, oh, cities under like 1,000 remote. Billings falls into the 100,000. It's up there, top 10 or whatever. But then you fall like Wolf Point, like Glasgow, that 1,000 people. They're like, yeah, like it's like that Iceland bullshit we were seeing is basically
that's kind of the vibe I got.
But
there's no addresses, just GPS coordinates.
Just about. No, and we're going to well, what I like about it, I guess it opens me up to possibly Canada. You're closer to Canada. And you're closer to North Dakota. And like I was telling you before the show gets started, I really want to hit that Badlands of North Dakota, aka Teddy Roosevelt National Park. I've heard some good things. So just get in there, explore that a little bit in the years to come, and just find kind of a rhythm. Get going out to Oregon quite a bit. Save some money. That's the one thing. Being in the middle of nowhere. I mean, yes, life is expensive. Like groceries and stuff will be expensive, but I'm not going to be like going to fucking Walmart or going to Taco Bell or going out to eat or doing ththese things that like where the little pennies add up. So I want to save some money in the meantime too.
Well, there you go. That's the plus to moving up there.
Yeah, it's something. But talking about remote places, I was down in Prairie, Montana, which isn't that remote. Basically, I was talking to Jared. I'm like, you guys are like a weird like suburb of Bozeman. You talk about like those people who live like outside New York or outside LA and they commute like an hour, or like even like you're talking like the Seasiders that commute to Portland. And it's like it's about the same thing. It's about an hour drive from Paradise Valley to Bozeman, and you get that. And it's crazy how much Los Angeles has changed into Los Angeles too, because of like that. And we were able to get out there and experience it and go drive like the roads. We drove that road north of Bozeman into the Bridger Mountains and did a deep trail in the Bridgers. So it was cool to see kind of the differences, the changes.
Nice.
You know,
Yeah. I mean, everyone blames the Californians moving to these places and then they drive an hour to get to their place of employment, like Seaside to Portland or Prey to Bozeman. But like the thing you don't realize is everyone's like an hour drive to get to work. That's crazy. Like they were doing that. They were doing that. They
right,
were just traveling way less distance. And so would you rather sit in your car,
right.
just sitting in your car, or would you rather be moving in your car for an hour, essentially?
And they were doing it in places, yeah, like San Jose and Oakland and San Francisco and LA. Like
LA,
you get that
San
traffic.
Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also getting a lot of the Oregonians as well as the a lot of people from Texas as well moving up here. And
Oregonians.
yeah, it's interesting because even it's funny because Montana is a Republican state, right? And we've become hard right, like really fucking hard right. And that's typically we're kind of more middle Republican, the last, like I would say 20 years. But with this new change and with who we have in office internally in Montana, we've gone hard right. And you're attracting that to where even I've seen like on Facebook groups in like the Montana Facebook groups, Republicans getting mad at the like other Republicans moving here because they're like, you're changing our state, you're changing our values. Like it's crazy how um this move, and I saw a lot of articles on it. I don't want to dive onto it, but how this move was a weird one where people moved politically, not necessarily like culturally or like social.
Yeah.
It
I
was
think,
weird.
yeah, I think a big part of that is, Montana had that kind of stereotype or bias into people thinking it was hard right when it wasn't necessarily as hard right. So they moved there to be with far right people, when in reality they moved there and made it hard right type of a
Right,
deal.
right.
So it's
And it,
it's an interesting dynamic, kind of an interesting social study, if you want to go that route.
right.
But no, that is not. We're not here to talk politics. We're not in an election year, so that's we don't care. We don't care anyway on the Wandering Ways podcast unless they're pro national parks and pro nature. We do care then. But no, we're here. We're here to continue on with our series of the ABCs of the national parks. And before we jump in and I tell you what one we're going to do today, I want to give a shout out to the last ABCs that we did, Death Valley, over the weekend. Highest visitation to Death Valley seen in a long, long time. Do we know the reason why, Ranger Zach?
Wandering Ways podcast. That's why.
That's part two of it, but part one is it was predicted to have the hottest temperature in the world and ever this last weekend.
Did it?
If you're listening to this live, when we recorded this a couple weeks ago from when now you're listening, the South there, especially Phoenix, Arizona, hot as hell. I think they just broke their record 19 days in a row of 110 plus.
Wild. It's climate change for you.
Yeah. You know what? The one thing people don't realize, and we will do the ABCs, I swear, people, but the one thing that people don't realize, like when it's 110 plus, like the number you see, that's the high of the day. I encourage you to go to those temperatures and look at the lows and then realize how much that sucks. Because like those lows aren't getting below 90.
And some of them say 100, and you're just like, that's terrible. And you're there, you're sweating, it sucks. You don't want to do anything. It's crazy, but people choose to live there. And then I even heard that Phoenix has so much humidity from all the pools and ponds and golf courses and stuff like that, that Phoenix itself has started to create its own humidity as a city.
That's just gross.
Right? Right?
That is just gross. No, we're not here to talk about what we're doing, our ABCs today. It's another D. It's another DE if you're going alphabetical. It is super excited for this one actually today. It is up in good old Alaska. We've talked about it before. I think it's made a list for us before. It's good old Denali National Park, the big one. Everyone talks about this one when it comes to the parks of Alaska. This seems to be one of the popular ones, if not the most popular Alaskan park.
Oh, it makes sense, right? You got the tallest point in North America, which is huge, which was named Mount McKinley for the longest time. And then finally, I want to say it was like 2012, right? 2012, 2010, somewhere in there. It was during the Obama administration. It was renamed back to Mount Denali, which was the name prior to Mount McKinley, and even the tribal name, the Native Alaskan name for it. Like, it makes sense. So it's great to see that it got its name back. Um, it's good to see, it's that I think its proximity to both Fairbanks and Anchorage makes it good and easy to get to. There's a 94-mile road, I believe, that goes right through the park that you can like tour on and see a lot. So that's kind of cool. Definitely when I look at Alaska, this one probably, I mean, Alaska parks, I feel like, go to the top of the list because like Alaska's great. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And maybe it might be worth doing like a larger trip where you try and hit as many of these parks in a trip as possible.
Oh,
Be hard to do. Hard to
that's
do.
not just hard, expensive.
Yeah.
Because
So
Alaska is, how do you say, huge.
Nat Geo, if you want to flip the Wandering Ways bill, we'd appreciate it.
Nat Geo, anybody. I don't care who. But yeah, no, that's a tough one because I mean
Right.
that's a huge state. And I think going from like, was it Glacier Bay to like gates of the Arctic, I think that right there alone is like it'd be like going Big Bend to the Michigan Peninsula.
That's what I mean. This is like a 3 month journey, man, in a trek vehicle. This is how we do it. You do it right.
I don't actually think you can drive to all these parks. I think you'd have to take a little jumper plane.
Yeah, no, that would actually make sense that to do that in a lot of these places, especially like Gates of the Arctic, Kenai,
Mhm.
um,
I
and
know
some
Katmai, the one I've been to in Alaska, you have to take plane or boat to get there.
right, and that's the one with all the bears.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's where Nat Geo, speaking of, films the brown bears.
yeah, great
I've
place.
been to the spot. It's pretty cool. But Denali, fast facts on good old Denali, became a park in 1917. Um, it was unlike the other national parks in Alaska, Denali existed in a smaller form before the Alaska Native Interest Land Conservation Act in 1980 created the 8 Alaskan national parks. On February 26, 1917, Mount McKinley National Park, then now Denali, was created a relatively small area set aside primarily for Dall sheep protection.
Yeah, no, and the doll sheep that they're actually really cool. They're like the mountain sheep, the bighorn sheep that you
Yeah.
see, just like more like a Canadian, warmer. They got to deal with that cold weather for sure. It's the 11th national park as well. So early on, when you said 1917, that kind of to me was like, I mean, it makes sense when it's that tall, right? When you talk like Everest, you talk like what America's doing in the 1917. You talk about these national parks, what is becoming national parks, right? What's becoming national monuments. It makes sense that this would happen early, which I like. I think it's kind of cool. There's a lot more to it. There's 400 different flowering plants in Denali as well. I read as a fun fact. They got a lot of species. You can find grizzly bears there. So that there are bears in this park, and we will go down the mammals list later. Don't worry, I'll go down it. And I don't know. It seems to me like a really cool park that I've heard people go to it and they just love it and they have good times. So like I want to go do that. That you want to give, like you're saying, like when you talk Alaska, you want to give yourself the week or the 2 weeks in some of these parks in reality to really get to know them and explore them. The nice thing again about you saying Alaska also being so big is that these parks are large parks as well. So
Yeah, I mean this is a big park. I definitely think if you are to really do this park, like really do it, I think you probably need 3-4 days minimum to really get your feel for it.
right.
And then you're probably gonna have to get on foot a little bit as well. Because there's not a lot of roads one in this park. And two, I think that road's closed part of the time. But with it being also a park that I think you have to get on foot for, uh, it's going to take some preparedness. You can't just be, I don't think you can be the average kind of like, I'm going to just, for sake of conversation, say like the average Yellowstone visitor, right?
Right.
You can't be that average. You gotta be a little bit more bear aware.
Yeah, 100%. It's funny because I'm in a lot of the forums around here, and you see the questions people ask about the Bears, like just the stupidity in them. But it's also the like, I don't know. You hear the stories, and they come from parks like this, like you're saying. Like, did you
Yeah.
see? Did you see that photographer get charged by a bear and
Yeah.
ran at it and to scare it off? Exactly. That's what you're dealing with in these places, and these bears in reality I would say the last 50 years have really started to feel the encroachment of people, up until like the 70s. Yeah, they are hunted. Yeah, people were up in Alaska doing the Alaska gold mining and this and that, but the wildlife was still very wild, but now it is becoming more modern, more urban. You are seeing more people move up to Alaska. You are seeing like
Mhm.
regulations put on the bears. You're seeing the fishing issues. So like it's different, and these bears don't know how to act around people, so they get goofy.
Yeah, no, 100%. I mean, it this isn't Denali. Maybe it is. Maybe they do have this in Denali. I don't know, but like if you go to Katmai National Park, you actually can't go like into the park until you sit through, I think it's like 10, maybe 15 minutes long, what they call bear etiquette class. You got to go and listen how to be a little bit more bear aware. Cool thing is they give you a pin afterwards that says you passed your bear etiquette. They switch the pin every year, so it's kind of a big deal when you get your pin. It's like a collector's item for that year. So, but pass your bear etiquette class, you're good to go with the old bears there. But going good old Denali, jumping back during the summer tourist season, the Denali Park is only open to private vehicles for the first 15 miles. There we go. Like I said, I think this is one you got to get on foot. The remaining 75 miles are unpaved, mostly one lane, and accessible by only shuttle buses. There is an exception for those camping at the Techlantica, camping at Techlantica at mile 30. But there you go. You have to get in on foot if you really want to get this park because you only get 15 miles of the old car.
Right. And then the shuttles, that's the other thing that I have heard with this park is you're going to have to take the tours. too, if you want to get into it. So I think even like that's what you say, like the jumper planes, the helicopters, you see a lot more of that in Alaska because of how remote it is and how to get around there. Um, and I think that like that's if you really want to get into it, you're going to have to, pay for it, one, and two, uh, it kind of explore. But like you said, there's plenty of hiking trails, and I'm sure there's some amazing hiking trails too that don't won't take cost an arm and a leg if you just go up there and hike it.
Yeah.
You're still gonna have a great time. Because it's more about the
Yeah. And honestly, I'm a fan of that kind of like shuttle system. I mean, you see it in Zion. Um, and that's a much, much, much smaller park than like Denali. And, those shuttles get crowded in Zion, but they still work pretty well.
I I think though, I mean, yeah, I'm in the Grand Canyon too. That work, I think they work really well there, and you're starting to see them pop up more and more in these parks. And I think you'll start seeing a lot of these parks actually go to more of the shuttle systems. You saw the like automated ones in couple locations. I think Yellowstone was one. I forget. I'm trying to forget. I'm blanking on the other park. So you're starting to see that kind of stuff that's creating jobs for park employees, which is awesome. And we're able to have that, and you're in reality too, some of these places are dangerous in the sense that you do need these guides and these rangers. It's
Mhm.
like looking at Iceland, going there, that glacier lagoon tour, you're going to want the guide. You For a whale tour, you're going to want the guide. For
Yeah.
this kind of stuff, you're going to want the guide. Fun fact, I read, um Denali is the only national park to employ sled dogs. Each year, the park adopts or breeds a litter of sled dogs, and they work side by side with rangers to protect the wilderness and ensure a great visitor experience.
That's kind of cool. That is a fun fact.
Right.
That really puts the fun in old facts there. Um, it's good. They need employment too. So,
Right. No, and then here's the name even. This is that book that she Amber shares book. Barren Wastelands of the or Barren Wasteland of Tundra is the negative review, which
I
I can
can
see
see why. Because if you've ever seen like tundra, it is very just flat,
that. Right.
like land. But at barren, I don't know if it's still very cool to see tundra.
Right. And they got a lot of animals. They got the grizzly bears, the wolves, the caribou, the moose. You got to go look for it. You can't just like give it one shot. But going into the name, so it said 2015 is when it was fully restored by President Obama. But for thousands of years, the Alaska Natives lived on the land around Denali and used the resource for food, shelter, clothing, and trade. The name Denali means the tall one or mountain big in Athabascan. In 1896, a gold prospector renamed the mountain Mount McKinley after the U.S. president. He never the Mount McKinley never visited the mountain or Alaska, and in 1975 they changed the name back to Denali of the mountain, of the park back to that, and then it was fully federally restored in 2015 by Obama. The mountain, the park
Huh.
got its name in the 80s. Yeah,
I don't know this McKinley fella, but how rude of somebody names a mountain after you, and you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna go visit it.
Well, I mean, how many presidents have that happen to them?
I don't
You know,
know. I don't know how many. There's not very many mountains, I think, named after presidents.
no, but I mean, mountain. That's kind of, I guess, yeah, bigger and important in that sense. But like, I mean, like you got like street names named after every president, pretty much in every state. You
That's different. That's different.
got,
That's way different.
I know
Like, who
that one is
cares? Who cares if you have a street? What is it?
right.
I don't think President McNary is just like, you know what? I'm super thankful that Corvallis, Oregon has a street named after me.
No, and I get that. Like, you're going to get buildings and schools
Yeah.
named after you as a president. You're not going to visit those.
Yeah, no, it's different
Mountains different.
when you're alive and you get named after something too, you
Yeah.
know. because I mean, there's all the presidential libraries, and the presidents visit their former presidents at
They
this time,
open
but
them.
they visit them,
They open
yeah,
them. Yeah.
right. So it's like it's a bit different from,
Right.
but going back to the Athabascans, they were the earliest inhabitants of Denali, and interesting fact about them, the Athabascan Indian people are a group of indigenous people from interior Alaska. There are 11 linguistic groups of Athabascans in Alaska. Historically, they were nomadic, following game from camp to camp during spring, summer, and early fall, and then settling into a winter village for the long season. The Athabascans were also known for being storytellers, and their stories often described how things came to be or contained moral messages. They were a part of a large oral tradition which attempted to explain the forces and creatures of the natural world through entertaining tales that often included characters such as the beaver, brown bear, fox, porcupine, and raven.
No, that's true. And it makes sense because you're on that tundra that you're going to follow those caribou, you're going to follow the deer, the elk, the moose, you're going to hunt
Yeah,
seal.
actually, that's a very good point. It's they have caribou, not reindeer, in Denali. So, but yeah, they follow the caribou, not reindeer, but caribou.
Right. And then they if you want to watch a good show, it's on Disney Plus. It's the first Alaskans, and it's about the subsistence living up there that the natives do up in Alaska. So you can see the Athabascans, you can see there's some out on the Aleuts, the Aleutians, and the different parts of the state. So you get a feel for kind of what you're talking about, because there's people who still are doing that, because Alaska is kind of a place that you need to, go hunt a moose and survive on that meat, because there's no farms up there. Those cows,
No,
it costs a lot to get beef up there, and case of water is like $20.
yeah, any kind of agriculture gets expensive up there, and it's the tundra is actually not good ground to do agriculture on. So subsistence living is actually very, very common. I mean, where I would go fishing up there, they had the subsistence fishing, and you'd see only people out there with nets were before the season like opened, and a little bit after are the natives for their subsistence fishing.
Have you seen the fish wheels up there?
I don't know.
This is like a giant, like basically like a wheel, like you have the power wheels, like on the creeks
Oh, no, no, no.
that catch fish.
Yeah, no, these were just like set nets where it's
Yeah,
just a net that kind of goes into the water.
yeah, that's cool to see. I mean, it's cool to watch. If you that first Alaskans is a cool show. If you're into that, like, there's the other show too that has some of that. The Life Below Zero.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Into that.
Another fun fact about Alaskan natives, this only applies really to fishing. You can shoot seals if you're Alaskan native. So when you're out in the bay fishing, you're hearing the gunshots and stuff. It's people who are Alaskan native. Now that's a very broad term, Alaskan native. But if you're Alaskan native, you can shoot at the seals.
Right, and they, I mean, it essentially means the native villages, and how they kind of identify when you do say Alaska Native, right?
Yeah, honestly, Alaskan native, like in the grand scheme of it, or for shooting at seals, it
Right.
really just means were you born in Alaska?
So it's kind of resident. It's a residency thing.
Well, yes, but no, because you can't move, become a resident,
Right.
and then have that privilege. You have to be born in Alaska.
It's like an inherent right kind of privilege to
Yeah.
it. There was a guy, me and Matt know, he's a canoe paddle. He carves canoe paddles, traditional native canoe paddles, and he was carving one in the Chinook style, and he hollowed it out, and he put a bow and arrow in there so that he could shoot seals from the canoe with his canoe paddle. He's like, and he sent us a video of it, and I'm thinking, it's good. I'll send you the video. It's wild.
That is kind of wild. Yeah, I remember my last year on the boat, we had a guy who was Alaskan native and he would shoot at seals. He never hit one because it's pretty tough to hit a seal on a boat because you have the boat that's
Right.
moving and then the seal's also moving. So you have to be actually a really good shot. Uh, but there's one time I remember he's standing there with the gun and there's like six seals on the boat or on the nets. And he just turns to me and he goes, I feel like a security guard at a bank that has $20 in it because we just had no fish on the line at the time.
Right. You're like, why even bother?
Yeah, that's he's just like, why am I doing this? There's like
Does he
four
does he
fish.
keep the skins?
For what?
Does he keep like the seal skins and the seals when you guys harvest them?
Oh yeah, I mean we never hit one, but when people do, they keep the seals. It's not like they just shoot them; they collect
Right.
them, and
Do the whole
they'll
thing.
use the blubber and that stuff.
No, they'll use the whole thing for art and
Yeah.
everything.
In need of LED lights for your vehicle? Look no further than our friends at Oxteo, keeping our vehicles well lit while on the road while looking for Bigfoot. Make sure to use code RUGARU, RUGARU, on your next set of LED lights.
Hey there, Reverend. I heard that you might be running dry on your sticker supplier.
Yeah, I've been looking around and I've kind of like run out of cool stickers to buy and put on water bottles and stuff.
Well, I mean, have you seen the stuff Josh has been coming out with lately?
No, I have not.
Well, he is doing some really cool stuff with the Shop LS 574. Yes, they're working with indigenous communities and making some really cool stickers. He has a really cool Buffalo Mountain sticker. There's even water bottles, hats, sweatshirts, the whole swag. And we even got a discount code for you guys. Yes, if you use Wandering Ways at Shop LS 574, you're going to be getting a discount on your next purchase. But not only that, you're going to be giving a percentage of that sale to the Little Shell Tribe, as well as they donate $1 of every sale to murdered and missing Indigenous women. So just such a cool thing going on there. You know, you use the code Wandering Ways, WANDERING WAYS, and you put that in there, boom, you're getting a discount.
The Wild West is full of dangers, from snakes to bears. The outdoorsman must be prepared. That is why when you experience rivers like the San Juan or the Yellowstone, you must bring a blue ribbon net. Handcrafted and biodegradable, these classic wooden fishing nets are all you need while on the river. Make sure to use code RUGARU10 when checking out at Blue Ribbon Nets. Again, the code is RUGARU10. RUGARU10.
All righty. Denali, full of cool stuff, cool shit, in that manner. And speaking of, it is my favorite segment, cool shit in nature. This week got some doozies for you. First one, we love a good tour on video. So this one here is a good old tour on video. Guy gets taken into the water by a shark in the Everglades. Kind of wild, if I'm being honest.
And that's exactly what they say. Keep your hands and feet in the vessel at all times. Like, boom, you broke the rules. You know, talk shit, get hit. You know what I mean? That's like you want to
Yeah.
play with the sharks, play with the fucking sharks.
Yeah, exactly. I actually almost picked another shark almost bite of of a diver going in and they see a shark. She starts backing out of the water because she sees the shark. And sure enough, the shark came right up to like where the ladder off the boat was that she was going to go in and pretty much was going to chomp her up.
Well, look, you can see the blood on his hand, right? When he reaches back at the boat to grab
Oh,
the boat, right there. Look
oh
at that.
yeah, yeah. You can see he's got blood on the boat.
Immediately. So it's bad. Look,
Yeah.
but like that's what I mean. You're flicking your hand in the water like that. You look like a dead fish flopping around like that.
Yeah. I mean, definitely can't feel good. I kudos for him for moving that fast to get
Right.
back in the boat. But this one I gotta give some puffin love, although this ain't the most fun for puffins. This is how hard puffin life is for these guys. So for the people just listening, they're gonna be showing the life of a puffin, kind of, where they go out, they get some food, and they come back.
No, that's great. Thank you for doing that. Thank you for bringing us that cool stuff today. Um, I kind of to dive us back into Denali. I got kind of a fun fact. I have the secrets of the national parks, the expert's guide to the best experiences beyond the tourist trail. Dun dun dun.
Here we go. I'm on the edge of my seat for this secret of Denali.
Well, good, because you could probably consider yourself one of these. An experienced hiker can strike out from the park road near mile 37, follow bear safety protocols, please, in parentheses, and climb up Tatler Creek to locate the dance floor, a spot where tracks of hadrosaurs and theropods can be seen on a rock outcrop. Since 2005, thousands of those kind of dinosaur tracks and fossils have been discovered. We're well known for our current large mammals, but we also have a rich prehistoric history, says Chris Pfister, the park's public affairs officer. We have this picture of the ecosystem 65 to 71 million years ago.
That actually would be kind of a cool little hike to do. Go see some fossils.
Yeah, and you would be able to go see some fossils. When it's experienced hikers, as I said, you're an experienced hiker.
Yeah, I'm gonna come clean. I've actually never been on a single hike in my life.
Well, I think it's more with the bears is where they're referencing that because it's right after.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's more, but to also be fair, I think Denali in and of itself, you have to be a bit more of an experienced hiker to do Denali. If you want to get like a real good Denali experience, I think you could still enjoy Denali without it. I don't think you're gonna get. I think you're gonna come away from it and be like barren wasteland of tundra or whatever that one was.
Right. And they have some visitor centers too. Like you're saying, like it's kind of remote in that sense. Like there are visitor centers, but they're like far, you're not going to be around services and whatnot. You have the main Denali Visitor Center, as well as the Walter Harpin Talkeetna Ranger Station. And that's the 100 miles south of the entrance. And that's a different ranger set. So you're far away from these people and these amenities, like you're saying, you're remote.
Yeah.
It's going to take some experience. You're going to want the supplies. You're going to want the bear spray. You're going to want the extra fire starter, whatever it may be that you feel safety have. You're going to want to be prepared.
100%, 100%. Yeah, you will want to be prepared for this park. Moving on, I got a kind of a fun fact here. Denali's first superintendent was the second man to climb the tallest mountain in North America. Denali National Park and Preserve's first superintendent was Harry Karstens, and he was no ordinary government employee. This one of my favorite Denali National Park's facts, because to the National Server Karstens first came north during the Klondike Gold Rush in 1897 when he was just 19 years old. He prospected in the Yukon Territory before migrating down the Yukon River into Alaska. Near Eagle, Alaska, he searched for gold on the 70-mile river, where he acquired his nickname, the 70-Mile Kid. From there, it looks like, he first successful summit of Denali. Karstens later guided himself as a climbing leader on the first successful summit of Denali in 1913. Walter Harper entered the history books that year as the first man to successfully summit Denali, and Harry followed him as the second man to make the climb to the top, which is kind of cool. Always fun to see, hear the stories of these climbers, especially in the early days when it's just so unknown, and then the harshness of climbing a mountain in general.
Well, and I want to even throw in the fact of the gear back then, as well as the weather. I think we had harsher winters, harsher mountain weathers back then, more so than we are. We were seeing more summer, more less glaciers, in these places. I always like to challenge that when you see that the first or the second person to climb it, like how many of the Alaska natives climbed it beforehand? You know,
Yeah, I'll be honest. I thought of that too, but then I thought of this as well. Um, I could imagine that the native peoples of that area would be like, well, why climb to the top? Like what do we need at the
right,
top? Because it's not like a spiritual site, the summit itself. So
right.
they could be like, they probably, if I were to make a comedic skit of this time, I could see old Harry walking into an indigenous camp and being like, "Hey, has anyone ever climbed to the top of that?" And like a group of indigenous peoples going like, "Why?"
Yeah, I get what you're saying too, because you're even like in the sense like a lot of life back then was just kind of more so for survival in the sense of like you're nomadic, you're living out on that tundra, you're moving around. Like, why go up the mountain when you're just
Yeah.
coming to mountain valleys in the summer? Um, it makes sense. No, it does make sense. It's a cool park, and looking more at this park, like I'm kind of like, okay, how do we go explore it right now? How does the Wandering Ways team go there and explore it? Not necessarily climb it, but go see it, go explore it. And it looks like those buses that we talked about, that's kind of the way you use it. And there's two types of buses. There's the non-narrated transit buses, and then there's the narrated tour buses, and then there's the free buses. And they essentially go back and forth. They have different purposes for campers, for hikers, for people who just want to get the tour. Some are good for wildlife, some aren't. You just kind of need to like kind of base it. There's even beyond buses, they call it. And this is all on the national park website. If you're going for a full day, 2 days, one night, whatever that may be. So there's just different things, different programs to do while you're out there, and it's good information. I always like to visit this website, and it's updated as of 2023, July 6th, so very recently. And you can take these tours. They have the Natural History, the Tundra Wilderness Tour, or then you have the transit bus or the camper bus, and it takes you on that road. And that road, when you look at that road, there's a ton of campgrounds all the way down it.
Mhm.
In the park, all 89 miles down. So I mean, it would make sense. It'd be cool to see get in that area. There's some of those places, I think, when you look at parks in the world, when you can really get back into them and get back into those deep corners, nooks and crannies, you can find some really cool shit.
Oh, for sure. For sure. What also makes Denali so unique, we touched on it being the tallest point in North America, which then makes it one of the 7 summits. So if you're a big mountain climber, it's a big deal to do the 7 summits, which is, for people that don't know, it's the tallest point in all 7 of the continents. So Denali is one of them. And of those 7, Denali is the stormiest and the coldest of the 7 summits, and it has to do actually with where it's placed on the globe, because it is so close to the Arctic Circle. It's the closest to any of the, like, outside the one in Antarctica, obviously, of like the poles. So it's it because of that, and especially it being the Arctic, that creates its own issues. It's still, I think what I see here, it's still considered, of the 7, it's like the third Easiest. Oh, no, my bad. The 7 summits listed in order of difficulty from greatest to least are Mount Kilimanjaro is the hardest one to climb, I guess. Mount Elbrus in Russia, Denali coming in third, and Concagua in Argentina. I'm going to butcher all of these. Vision Massif in Antarctica, Puncake Jaya in Oceania, which is Australia, and then Mount Everest.
Makes sense. Makes sense. That one makes the list. Yeah. Is it a volcano? Do you know?
I don't know if it is. I'm gonna go no, because I think actually it's technically part of like that Rockies kind of spine.
It makes sense. I mean, it would make sense if that's the
Because the
case.
Rockies really kind of start going up towards Alaska there.
Okay, that does make sense then.
Yeah. Um, Another fun fact about good old Denali about what does it say here? Oh, my bad. I was gonna say 1,000. It's 1 million acres of Denali is approximately glacier cover. Which a sad truth. It's probably not that from when that fact was written, it's probably not it's probably a little lower because that ice melt's probably happened, which is super sad, but it's good to know that there's still some glaciers out there.
Right. No, it's good to see. And it's good to see. Good to see that they're there. There's also, like I promised as before, there's mammals in this park, right? There's or different animals, right? But mammals is the fun one. That's the one, yeah, I like to bring up and talk about. And there's actually 39 species of mammals. There's one amphibian, 169 species of birds, 14 species of fish, and 0 species of reptile in this park. And one of the big questions people ask when they go to this park is where can they see wildlife? Generally, they say your best chance of seeing wildlife will be while riding the bus on the road. The bus offers numerous advantages for the wildlife seeker. You sit much higher than in a normal vehicle, enabling you to see over the roadside brush. The bus will have a dozen more eyes on it, allowing folks to look in all directions. A trained and experienced driver will take care of navigating you along the windy Serpentine Park Road, at which point travel along the sides of mountains, letting you relax and focus on the scenery and trying to spot animals. At numerous points, the road rises above the tree line, offering unimpeded views for miles around. Such areas you're most likely to yield views of animals, although sometimes at a distance. Bring binoculars. They will help you enjoy the view of the wildlife at a distance. Any trip in Denali looking for wildlife has an element of chance to it. Some trips are lucky enough to see a variety of wildlife, while others are less likely and may only see a handful of animals. And we got the list of mammals here, right here. And actually, this is kind of cool. I'm on their website, and I can select a park on the wildlife checklist. And the only park is Denali for this one. And then I can select amphibians, birds, fish, mammals, reptiles, or vascular plants. And I can get the checklist. So we can print this off and take it with us along the way on our trip to Denali. Doll sheep, moose, caribou, coyote, gray wolf, red fox, lynx, wolverine, river otter, American marten, short-tailed weasel, the least weasel, the mink, the black bear, the brown bear, the snowshoe hare, the pika, the American beaver, the vole, the lemming, a bunch of other voles, a bunch of other lemmings, bunch of mouse, a porcupine, squirrels, the hooray marmot, and shrews, a couple shrews. So if you're into that,
there you go. Black bears made the list again. In almost all of these parks, you'll find a black bear.
you really will. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah, no, I know. It's kind of that running joke we have. It's like we keep seeing black bear show up on all of these, even in places you're like, really? You're gonna see black bear there?
I mean, right, but like it makes sense too, because they're kind of that bear that's at that place in the totem pole.
Yeah, they're kind of like coyotes in that standpoint where they've really kind of adapted into almost any environment.
Well, you really look at the historical range of like the grizzly bear, even, and the fact that the grizzly bear was out on the Great Plains.
North Dakota, South Dakota, Montana, Wyoming, right? You had the grizzly bear out there. Now it's in the Rocky Mountains because we as humans pushed it up into there. If the black bear is where its natural grounds is now, could you imagine the black bear and where it was probably, 100
I
years
don't
ago?
know.
The historic range, exactly everywhere, probably. It's like
Yeah.
raccoons,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
the big raccoon.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, we have to actually, we're running out of time on this episode. So that means the ABCs of Denali National Park is over, and we are moving on to the final words. So, final words, my guy.
All right, man. I didn't know we were running out of time. It's been fun talking about with Denali with you. It's good to get an ABC with a lot to do. Sometimes we get stuck with these small parks that don't have a lot. So this one, definitely check out the ranger programs, the hiking, the backpacking, the cycling. They have good cycling, I see. They have good fishing. They have winter activities such as the dog sledding. And they have even flights you can do. You can go see the park with flights. You can go snowshoeing. There's all sorts of cool different things you can do in this park. And we just scratched the tip of it today. Because it's special to go. I really want to go. I see the pictures all the time, and you're like, God, I want to be there, but I'm not. I'm in Montana right now. One day you'll get the Wandering Ways crew up there, and we'll be live from Denali. So hopefully you're tuning in then. Tell your friends, tell your grandma, and please take the time if you're listening to this. Just give us a 5-star review wherever you're listening to it. It means the world to us. It takes 5 seconds out of your day, and it means the world to us, and we really appreciate it. So that's all I got.
Reverend, final words of wisdom. Stay beautiful, everybody. Can't tell you how much I appreciate every single one of you for listening all the way through, and listening to all the other episodes. Summer, I think by the time this comes out, it's August, so it's probably hot, hot, hot. Fire season is a blooming. There's a pretty good fire not too far from me right now. No smoke for us, thankfully, but it's a fire that's getting out of there. So be fire safe, be fire smart. Don't ruin it for everyone else by shooting off some fireworks because you just wanted to see something go crack, crack, boom, boom, and all of a sudden the forest goes crackle, crackle of hot, hot fire everywhere. Um, but yeah, go out, enjoy it. Summer, it's coming to an end for some of us. So, with that being said, peace out, everybody.
Bye.